Welcome to Hidden Truths, the place where we explore the unseen forces shaping your life. This isn't just another motivational channel. This is where we go deeper, past the cliches, through the silence, into the uncomfortable questions most people never dare to ask. Today's truth will hit close to the heart, because it's not about greed or power or corruption. It's about kindness. Yes, kindness. The one thing you were taught would heal the world. The one thing you were told to give without question. The one thing you've offered again and again at your own expense. But what if the system learned to exploit that kindness? What if your compassion, your empathy, your willingness to help was exactly what kept you small, overworked, and unheard? This video is not an attack on caring. It's not about becoming selfish. It's about finally understanding how deeply the world profits from your silence, how guilt is used to keep you giving, how boundaries are shamed, and how you can reclaim your power without losing your heart. Because the truth is, you can care without collapsing. You can give without being used. And no, you're not crazy for feeling exhausted. You're just living inside a system that never expected you to ask, why am I the one always bleeding while others benefit? This is the compassion tax, and today we're exposing it. The silent weight of caring. They say the world needs more compassion, and maybe that's true. But what no one tells you, what no one dares to say out loud, is that the most compassionate people are often the most exhausted, the most invisible, and the most easily used. Not because they're weak, but because the world has quietly learned how to turn their strength against them. You don't hear about this on the news. It doesn't make the headlines. It's not trending on social media. But behind hospital doors, in overfilled classrooms, inside homes where caregivers barely sleep, behind the polite smiles of service workers and burnt-out activists, there's a silent kind of suffering that never gets named. It's the kind of pain that doesn't scream. It doesn't ask for attention. It just keeps going. Because that's what kind people do, right? They keep going. Even when they're not okay. Even when no one thanks them. Even when the world leans on them like they're made of stone. But they're not. They're human. And they're tired. This is the silent weight of caring. The burden that comes not from what you do, but from how much of yourself you give away doing it. Day after day, year after year. Until one day, there's nothing left to give, and no one even notices you're gone. Because the truth is, the world doesn't reward compassion. It rewards visibility. It rewards confidence. It rewards boldness, strategy, control. Compassion is beautiful, but it's not loud. It doesn't demand credit. It doesn't take up space. It doesn't make itself the center of the story. And that's exactly why it's easy to ignore. Let's talk about nurses. The people who sit with the dying, clean wounds, hold trembling hands, stay long after their shifts end. How are they treated? Underpaid, understaffed. Praised in words, abandoned in policy. Let's talk about teachers, the ones who shape the future every single day, expected to raise children, educate, discipline, inspire, all while being micromanaged, criticized and under-resourced. Let's talk about parents, especially single parents, especially mothers, expected to sacrifice endlessly, put themselves last, and still be smiling. Let's talk about activists, volunteers, clergy, frontline workers, mental health counselors, social workers, domestic violence shelter staff, elder care aides, foster parents. These are the people we claim to respect. But look closer. Where are the protections for them? Where is the fair pay, the emotional support, the boundaries, the rest? We don't offer it because we assume they'll keep giving. And this is the beginning of something dangerous, the exploitation of empathy. See, when a system knows someone will give no matter what, it stops offering fair exchange. Why pay more? Why change anything? Why honor their time and needs when they'll keep showing up out of love? It sounds harsh, doesn't it? But look around. Think of the most vital people in your community. How many of them are barely holding it together? How many of them feel guilty for taking time off, asking for help, or saying no? How many of them whisper to themselves at night, "I can't keep doing this, but I don't know how to stop"? And worse, how many of them feel like they're the problem for feeling this way? This is the dark side of being a good person. No one warns you about it, because to admit it exists would mean admitting that the world does in fact take advantage of the kind-hearted. We teach our children to care, but we don't teach them how to protect that care. We praise empathy, but never teach boundaries. We glorify sacrifice, but never warn about depletion. We honor martyrs, not maintainers. And so what happens? Those with the biggest hearts end up with the heaviest burdens. Those with the deepest compassion end up carrying the cost for everyone else. And the world keeps turning, grateful for their service, but never paying the debt. There's a quiet grief that lives inside these people. Not because they regret helping, not because they want to be selfish, but because they can't remember the last time someone helped them. They're always the strong one, always the listener, always the fixer, always the giver. Until one day, they look in the mirror and don't recognize the person staring back. Burnt out, depleted, hollowed. Still smiling because that's what's expected. This is not okay, and it's not your fault. If you see yourself in these words, if you've been the one carrying the weight, if you've been told you're too sensitive or too much or not tough enough, let this be the moment you finally hear this. You are not weak. You are not broken. You are not failing. You are living in a world that asks you to give without end and shames you for needing anything in return. That ends here. Because compassion is powerful, but only when it's protected. Kindness is sacred, but only when it includes you. Empathy is not a weakness, unless you're told it's wrong to guard it. In this series, we're going to unmask how society quietly trains you to become a willing sacrifice. We're going to look at the hidden messages, the guilt, the silent expectations, and we're going to show you how to rewrite them. You don't have to stop caring, but you do have to stop bleeding for everyone else while calling it love. The silent weight of caring doesn't have to stay silent anymore. This is where your awareness begins, and from here, everything starts to change. The myth of moral duty. From the time you were small, you were told that good people give, that real strength is sacrifice, that love is proven through how much you're willing to endure, that asking for help is selfish, and that needing anything back somehow makes your kindness less pure. These messages don't arrive all at once. They're sown quietly, like seeds, in fairy tales, in school rules, in sermons and bedtime stories, in the way adults praised you for staying quiet, being helpful, not complaining. You were taught, without ever being told directly, that your worth comes from what you do for others, especially when it hurts. This is what we call the myth of moral duty, the belief that you owe the world your time, energy, and care simply because you have the capacity to give it. And if you don't give, you're cold, you're selfish, you're a bad friend, a bad child, a bad partner, a bad human. It sounds extreme, but look closer. This belief has shaped everything. Why else would a nurse work 16-hour shifts with no overtime? Why else would a teacher buy school supplies out of their own salary? Why else would a stay-at-home parent feel guilty for needing time alone? Because the myth whispers, if you really cared, you wouldn't need more. You wouldn't rest. You wouldn't say no. You wouldn't ask to be treated better. You just keep giving, quietly, endlessly, invisibly. We've taken morality and twisted it into martyrdom. And the more you hurt for others, the more good you're supposed to be. That's not moral. That's manipulation. Think about how we define a hero. Is it someone who survives or someone who sacrifices themselves? We praise the firefighter who runs into the flames, the doctor who pulls all-nighters for their patients, the friend who always drops everything, the mother who gives up her dreams, the worker who never takes a break. We glorify their pain, but we rarely question the systems that require it. Why does heroism always involve suffering? Why do we applaud burnout as a badge of honor? Why do we expect people to do what's right, even when it breaks them? Because deep down, we've confused being good with being useful. And that's dangerous, because the moment your goodness is tied to how much you give, you'll start believing that the less you ask for, the more valuable you are. You'll apologize for your boundaries. You'll hide your exhaustion. You'll say yes when every part of you is screaming no, and you'll do it with a smile because you've been told that's what love looks like. But here's what no one told you. You can be a good person and still say no. You can be deeply compassionate and still protect your peace. You can care about others and still care about yourself. The myth of moral duty doesn't just hurt you. It upholds broken systems. It keeps unfair workplaces running. It keeps women stuck in roles they never chose. It keeps men from seeking help. It shames the struggling. It silences those who dare to say, "This isn't okay." Because when people stop accepting silent suffering as virtue, they start asking better questions. Why are we still doing it this way? Who really benefits from this sacrifice? What if morality didn't mean destroying yourself for others? Real morality isn't about self-erasure. It's not about being the last one standing after everyone else has taken what they needed from you. It's not about proving your worth through pain. Real morality is about responsibility with sustainability. It's about care that is honest, reciprocal, and conscious. It's about saying, I will help where I can, but I will not disappear for it. I will give, but I will also rest. I will love, but I will not be manipulated by guilt. Because here's the hidden truth. The people who truly care are the most vulnerable to being taken advantage of. And the myth of moral duty is the tool that makes it possible. It trains you to see your exhaustion as a sign that you're doing it right. It tells you to feel shame when you draw a line. It convinces you that walking away means you failed. But in reality, the moment you stop betraying yourself in the name of morality, that's when you begin to actually live. Kindness without self-abandonment, compassion without collapse, morality without martyrdom. You don't owe anyone your depletion. You don't need to prove your goodness through your suffering, and you are not less loving for choosing to protect your energy. The world doesn't need more people who are burned out from trying to be good enough. It needs people who are whole, awake, aware, and willing to say, "I will care deeply, but I will not be used." Let that be your new moral compass, not the one shaped by guilt and silence, but the one forged in truth, boundaries, and balance. Because that's not selfish, that's survival, and it might just be the most moral choice of all. Emotional labor, the invisible work. There's a kind of work you do every day, but no one puts it in a job description. No one pays you for it. No one even thanks you for it, because they don't see it, they only feel it. It's the work of holding space for other people's emotions, of absorbing tension, of smoothing conflicts, of staying calm when everyone else is falling apart. It's listening, soothing, encouraging, reassuring, nodding politely when you're exhausted, smiling when you want to cry, making others feel safe even when you don't. This is emotional labor. And for millions of people, especially women, especially caregivers, especially service workers, it's not a side task, it's the real job. The invisible one, the unpaid one, the one that costs more than anyone realizes. You feel it in your body. That tight jaw after a meeting where you had to manage everyone's egos. That clenched stomach after spending all day being polite to rude customers. That drained feeling after comforting a friend, even though you were the one who needed comfort. It's not physical exhaustion, it's emotional depletion. And here's the dangerous part. The world expects you to do it without ever acknowledging that it's work. They'll praise your professionalism, your patience, your warmth, your ability to handle people so well, but they won't call it what it is. Because once we name it, we have to value it. And once we value it, we have to pay for it. And the system isn't ready for that. Where does emotional labor show up? Everywhere. In the workplace, it's the receptionist who smooths over a client's frustration, the manager who keeps morale high through layoffs, the HR rep who absorbs the emotional weight of everyone's stress. It's the woman in a meeting who's expected to be nice, not too direct, not too cold, because if she doesn't manage everyone's feelings, she's labeled difficult. It's the black employee who's always asked to educate others about racism, for free, with a smile, even when it's traumatizing. It's the LGBTQ+ person who constantly translates their humanity in heteronormative spaces, while being expected to stay professional. It's the waiter who has to smile through abuse, the nurse who comforts families while grieving silently, the teacher who becomes a therapist without being trained or supported as one. It's the mother who wakes up early to pack lunches, holds everyone's emotions together, and then gets asked, "What did you do all day?" Emotional labor is everywhere, but it's hidden under one cruel idea, that it's just part of the job. Why is it always the same people doing it? Because the system is designed that way. It tells women that being nurturing is natural, so it's not labor, it's just personality. It tells minorities that they should educate others, so it's not work, it's their role. It tells frontline workers that the customer is always right, so emotional abuse becomes part of the shift. And worst of all, it tells you that if you struggle with this work, you're the problem. That you're not strong enough, not professional enough, not kind enough. It turns your exhaustion into a personal failure instead of a systemic injustice. But emotional labor is work. It drains your nervous system. It takes time. It takes skill. It demands patience, empathy, and inner strength. And when it goes unacknowledged, it becomes dangerous. Because when something is invisible, there's no limit to how much of it people will demand. They'll expect you to be endlessly available, endlessly calm, endlessly understanding. And if you break, they won't ask what you need. They'll just replace you with someone else who's still smiling. What happens when you stop doing it? This is where things get interesting. The moment you stop performing emotional labor, even just a little, you'll notice a shift. You'll be called cold, difficult, rude, aggressive, unprofessional, because people weren't appreciating your emotional labor. They were depending on it. It was propping up their comfort, their success, their emotional ease. And once you stop providing it for free, the system shakes. Which is exactly why it needs to be named. Because until we call emotional labor what it is, we can't value it. And until we value it, we can't protect the people who do it. What can you do? Let's be clear, this is not about becoming numb or unkind. This is about balance, boundaries, awareness. Start noticing when you're doing emotional labor, especially when it's expected, not asked. Start asking, would this be expected of me if I were a man? Would this still be just part of the job if it were on paper? Why am I being asked to perform emotional work but not being compensated, supported, or even acknowledged? Start practicing phrases like, I care, but I'm not available for this right now. I'm not comfortable holding that emotional weight alone. This topic is important, but I need support or compensation to engage fully. You may feel resistance, guilt, fear. That's normal, because emotional labor has been tied to your identity, your value, your goodness. But you are not here to be a soft landing for everyone. You are not required to be endlessly pleasant. You are allowed to take up space without managing everyone else's comfort. Redefining worth. Your worth is not in how much you absorb. It's not in how well you regulate the room. It's not in how small you can make yourself to keep others stable. Your worth is in your presence, your full, human, messy, brilliant self. Emotional labor is real. And just because it's invisible doesn't mean it's free. Start valuing it. Start naming it. Start protecting your energy like it matters, because it does. You don't have to stop caring, but you do have to stop giving away your inner peace to people who think it's your job to keep them comfortable. The most radical act of self-love? Saying, I am not your emotional sponge. Systematic exploitation of kindness. You were told that kindness is a personal virtue, something that comes from the heart, a choice, a reflection of your character. But what if the world around you doesn't see it that way? What if the systems you live and work in don't just recognize your kindness, they depend on it? What if your willingness to give is already part of someone else's business model, someone else's budget, someone else's power? Because here's the truth no one wants to admit. Kind people are easy to manage. They apologize quickly. They take on more work. They don't push back. They hesitate to say no. They feel bad for causing trouble. And systems love that. Kindness isn't the problem, but it's being used. This is not an attack on kindness. This is about how systems exploit it. Let's look at it clearly. Hospitals are understaffed because management knows that nurses will keep showing up even when they're burnt out. Nonprofits underpay employees because they know people will accept less in the name of the mission. Teachers work unpaid overtime because the school district assumes they care too much to stop. Social workers stay late, answer calls at night, drive their own cars to home visits because the families need them. Even in families, the kindest person becomes the emotional dumping ground, always the one to fix things, to keep the peace, to bend. Over time, this isn't about individual choices anymore. It becomes systematic design. Policies, budgets, power structures, all built on the assumption they care too much to quit. And that assumption is what keeps the cycle alive. How the system profits. Let's break it down. When you do emotional labor for free, your company saves money. When you work extra hours out of guilt, your boss meets their targets. When you stay silent to avoid being difficult, the status quo remains intact. Your kindness becomes a resource, quietly extracted, never compensated, always expected. It's not just emotional, it's economic. And the more you give without asking, the more the system takes and then builds around your giving. This is exploitation, but it doesn't look like exploitation because it hides behind praise. You're such a team player. We don't know what we'd do without you. You have such a big heart. But those compliments come instead of raises, instead of better support, instead of balance. Because if they keep you feeling needed, they don't have to keep you feeling respected. The psychology behind it. This isn't accidental. Systems don't just benefit from your kindness, they design for it. They reward the behavior that keeps you compliant and punish the behavior that challenges the imbalance. If you say yes all the time, you're praised. If you set boundaries, you're labeled selfish, not a team player, difficult. Guilt is used as a leash, and your desire to help becomes the hook. The more you care, the easier you are to manipulate, because the system doesn't fear your goodness, it fears your awakening. When you start asking for more, this is when the shift happens. When you say, I deserve rest. I need compensation. This workload isn't fair. I won't keep doing this for free. Suddenly, the praise stops. The warmth turns cold. You're no longer one of the good ones. You're a problem. Not because you changed, but because you stopped allowing the system to feed on your kindness. You stopped playing the part they wrote for you. The role of the tireless giver. Who gets exploited most? Let's be honest, not everyone's kindness is exploited equally. It happens most to those already marginalized. Women, people of color, immigrants, LGBTQ+ communities, working class individuals, neurodivergent individuals, young professionals eager to prove themselves, older adults afraid of being replaced. These groups are often taught, explicitly or subtly, that their value lies in being agreeable, humble, loyal. So they give more, ask less, and are punished when they stop. It's not just about personal behavior, it's about power. Why doesn't the system change? Because the system works for the people at the top. They don't feel your burnout. They don't absorb your emotional labor. They don't have to self-sacrifice. They just enjoy the results. As long as you're still functioning, still showing up, still being nice, they see no reason to change. And when one kind person burns out, another will take their place. Because there's always someone else who's been taught, if you care, you give. If you say no, you're bad. And the cycle continues. So, what now? You can't change the entire system overnight, but you can start dismantling the part of it that lives inside you. You can question, why am I praised only when I overextend? Why do I feel guilty for asking for help? Who benefits from my silence, my patience, my unpaid labor? You can unlearn the belief that kindness means compliance. You can begin to see boundaries as sacred, not selfish. You can start naming your invisible labor, and you can talk about it. Because naming the exploitation is the first step to ending it. You're not wrong for caring. You're not broken for feeling used. You're not too sensitive. You're not weak. You are awakening, and that is powerful. Because the system may be big, but it's built on people like you staying quiet. Once you stop, it starts to crumble. Let this be your reminder. Your kindness is a gift, not a resource to be extracted, not a currency to be abused, not a weakness to be exploited. You get to choose where your compassion flows, and you are allowed always to protect it. Kindness is not a trap, but when the system turns it into one, your awareness becomes your escape. The more you see the design, the less power it has over you. And the more you reclaim your worth, the more the system is forced to face what it's built on. It's time they stop profiting from your empathy.
Guilt as a control mechanism. If you've ever said the word no and then felt like a terrible person, this part is for you. If you've ever needed rest but pushed through because you didn't want to let anyone down, this part is for you. If you've ever walked away from something that was breaking you and then spent weeks wondering if you were just being selfish, this part is for you. Because there's something silently guiding your choices. It's not kindness, it's not morality, it's not even logic. It's guilt. And it has become one of the most powerful, invisible control mechanisms in modern life. The guilt script. Guilt doesn't scream, it whispers. You should do more. They're counting on you. What if they think you don't care? You're lucky to even be here. Other people have it worse. If you really loved them, you'd stay. These thoughts don't come from nowhere. They're planted over years, watered by social norms, nurtured by cultural narratives, and weaponized by systems that benefit from your compliance. Because guilt is the perfect tool of control. It doesn't require force, it doesn't need threats, it just convinces you to be the enforcer. You'll overwork, overgive, overstay, all because you don't want to feel like a bad person. That's how deep it runs. Where guilt shows up. Guilt is everywhere, especially in the lives of the kind-hearted. At work, I know I'm burned out, but I can't leave the team like this. They already gave me a chance. I can't disappoint them. In family, I'm the oldest. It's my responsibility. She raised me. I owe her everything. In friendships, I can't say no to her. She'll think I don't care. They're going through so much. Who am I to set a boundary? In caregiving, if I leave now, who will help them? They depend on me. I can't walk away. And in every case, guilt turns your kindness into a trap, not because you don't care, but because you do. How guilt is used against you. The system doesn't need to punish you for setting boundaries. It just needs to make you feel bad for having them. Guilt keeps you quiet. It keeps you agreeable. It keeps you stuck. And worse, it convinces you to suffer is your own choice, that your exhaustion is your fault, that you're not allowed to feel mistreated because you chose this. But did you really choose it? Or were you conditioned to feel guilty if you didn't? This is how guilt becomes a cage, one you never see because you built it with your own empathy. The guilt swift. Kind people tend to have a guilt reflex. The moment they say no, their mind floods with fear. What if they're upset? What if I'm wrong? What if I hurt someone? What if I regret this? So they backtrack, apologize, over-explain, give in. Not because they were wrong, but because guilt made it feel that way. But here's the truth. Guilt is not always a moral signal. Sometimes it's just the emotional residue of old programming, a warning bell from a system that taught you to feel bad for prioritizing yourself. Guilt versus integrity. It's important to understand this. Guilt is a feeling. Integrity is a compass. Guilt says, you're selfish for walking away. Integrity says, this is no longer aligned with your well-being. Guilt says, you're failing everyone. Integrity says, you're honoring your limits before you collapse. Guilt is emotional manipulation, sometimes internal, sometimes external. Integrity is the quiet knowing that your choice is rooted in truth. You don't have to feel guilty to be good. You don't have to suffer to prove you care. You don't have to stay silent to keep the peace. Because guilt works so well, because it plays on your deepest values, compassion, responsibility, loyalty, love. It doesn't attack you, it uses you. Your best parts, twisted into pressure. You become afraid of hurting others, even when you're the one bleeding. You become afraid of disappointing people, even when they're asking too much. You become afraid of appearing selfish, even when all you want is rest. And over time, you forget what your own needs even feel like. You only feel the guilt that comes when you try to meet them. Breaking the guilt cycle. The first step is awareness. Guilt only has power when it goes unnamed. Once you start recognizing the script, you can begin to change it. Ask yourself, who taught me to feel guilty for resting? Why do I think saying no means I don't care? Whose comfort am I protecting by staying silent? What part of me believes I must suffer to be worthy? Then begin replacing the guilt script with the truth. I am allowed to rest, even if others are still struggling. I can care deeply and still say no. My needs are not a burden. Their disappointment is not my responsibility. When you still feel guilty, do it anyway. Guilt doesn't vanish overnight. Sometimes you'll have to take care of yourself while feeling guilty. That doesn't mean you're wrong, it means you're unlearning, and that takes time. You may feel guilty the first time you say, I'm not available for that, or I can't help you with this right now, or I need space. But each time you say it and survive the discomfort, you teach your nervous system that boundaries are safe, that you don't have to earn your rest, that love doesn't require self-erasure. Eventually, guilt stops feeling like a moral truth and starts feeling like what it is, a feeling, not a fact. Reclaiming your power. The people who benefit from your guilt will often try to shame you when you stop. They'll say you changed. They'll say you don't care anymore. They'll say you're cold, that you're not the same person. And they're right. You have changed. You don't care in the same way. You're not willing to be used as currency anymore. You're no longer available for silent suffering. That's not selfish. That's sacred. Because the opposite of guilt is not indifference. It's clarity. And you deserve to live with clarity, not emotional blackmail. Let this be the moment. You were never meant to carry this much guilt. It was never your burden. It was never the price of being good. You are allowed to protect yourself, to set limits, to walk away, to speak up, to rest, without apology, without over-explaining, without guilt. Because when you live in alignment with your truth, even if guilt shows up, it can no longer control you. And that's when freedom begins.
Undervaluing the essential roles. Imagine the moment the world stops spinning. A city without nurses, a school without teachers, a country without sanitation workers, caregivers, delivery drivers, farmers, or therapists. The world would collapse in a matter of days. Not because of the stock market, not because of CEOs, but because the people who actually keep life moving are gone. And yet, these are the people society consistently pays the least, respects the least, protects the least. Why? The injustice you've grown numb to. There's something wrong with a system that pays a man more to manage numbers in an office tower than a woman who keeps premature babies alive through the night. There's something broken about a world that celebrates tech billionaires while teachers fund their own classrooms, where the highest bonuses go to hedge fund managers and the lowest paychecks go to those who care for our elders, our children, our sick, and our dying. You see it everywhere, but you've been conditioned not to question it, because somewhere along the way, the system decided essential does not equal valuable. The logic of exploitation. Here's the brutal truth. The reason essential roles are undervalued is because they attract people who care, people who see the work as a calling, who do it out of love, passion, duty, people who will keep showing up even when they're underpaid, overstretched, under-resourced. The system doesn't need to offer more because it knows you'll give more. This isn't a coincidence, it's a strategy. When a job is driven by compassion, the assumption becomes you're not in it for the money. And if you are, you're seen as greedy, disrespectful, not truly committed. Imagine saying, "I want to be a nurse and I want to be paid well." Suddenly, people question your motives, as if saving lives is only noble when you're struggling financially. It's a twisted narrative, and it's everywhere. The gendered pattern. Look closer and you'll see something else. The most undervalued essential roles are often held by women. Teaching, nursing, social work, childcare, elder care, emotional support roles. These professions are seen as extensions of what women are naturally good at, as if compassion, nurturing, and patience are just part of their DNA, and not skills that deserve pay, training, and protection. So the work becomes invisible, taken for granted, deemed not real labor. But let's be clear, just because something is done with love doesn't mean it isn't labor. Just because it's emotionally rewarding doesn't mean it shouldn't be economically respected. The cost of being essential. The people in essential roles pay a price, not just in money, but in their bodies, their minds, their time, their relationships. They suffer from chronic stress, burnout, compassion fatigue, secondary trauma, financial instability,
lack of advancement, minimal social recognition. And yet, they're told to be grateful, to do it for the children, to serve the community, to be a light in dark times. They're given praise instead of support, applause instead of raises, a pizza party instead of policy change. Why the system keeps it this way? Because it's convenient. Because the people doing essential work are too busy surviving to organize, too exhausted to resist, too emotionally invested to walk away. And because the rest of society benefits from their labor without having to truly see the human cost. As long as the teacher shows up, as long as the nurse takes the night shift, as long as the caregiver wipes the tears, the system can pretend everything's working. But it's not. It's held together by over-functioning people who are breaking quietly. The shame of asking for more. The cruelest part, when essential workers do speak up, they're often met with shame. You knew what you were signing up for. Don't you care about the kids? You should be doing this for love, not money. Imagine saying that to any other profession. Imagine telling a software engineer, if you really loved technology, you wouldn't care about your salary. Or telling a lawyer, why do you need better hours? You knew what law was like. It sounds absurd, but essential workers hear this every day, as if their compassion cancels out their right to boundaries, to compensation, to dignity. We have to redefine value. We need to stop equating value with visibility, with profit, with prestige. True value is measured by impact, and no one has more impact than the people who feed, teach, heal, protect, and uplift others. They don't just serve society, they hold it together. And yet, they are consistently under-resourced because we keep pretending that making a difference should be its own reward. It's not. Purpose without support becomes pain. Compassion without compensation becomes exploitation. You're allowed to want more. If you're in one of these roles, hear this clearly. You are allowed to love your work and still want better pay. You are allowed to care deeply and still need rest. You are allowed to feel called and still set boundaries. Wanting to be valued doesn't make you selfish. It makes you awake. And once you see how deeply the system undervalues you, you can begin to challenge it. With your voice, your choices, your boundaries, your presence, or your exit. A world without you? They tell you you're replaceable. They treat you like you're lucky to have the job. They guilt you when you speak up. But imagine a world without you. No teachers, no nurses, no counselors, no delivery drivers, no janitors, no sanitation workers, no case managers, no shelter staff, no healers, no helpers. The world doesn't just stop, it falls apart. You are not replaceable. You are essential. And it's time the system acted like it.
The unseen tax you keep paying. You've been paying a tax your whole life. Not to the government, not on your income, but on your kindness. And you didn't even know it had a name. It's invisible. It doesn't show up on a receipt. It's not taken from your paycheck, but it's deducted every single day from your energy, your time, your mental peace, your self-worth. They don't call it a tax. They call it responsibility. They call it being a good person. They call it stepping up, being reliable, doing the right thing. But let's be honest, what they really mean is, we expect you to carry the emotional burden and to never ask for anything in return. That's the unseen tax of compassion, and it's time we talked about it. What this tax really looks like,
It looks like staying late again because someone else dropped the ball. It looks like answering texts at midnight from people who never ask how you are. It looks like volunteering for something no one wants to do because you can't stand to let people down. It looks like over-explaining your boundaries. It looks like apologizing for resting. It looks like shrinking yourself to protect someone else's comfort. And every time you do it, you lose a little more of yourself. Not in a dramatic way, not all at once, but slowly, quietly, incrementally. The way a river wears down stone. The way a slow leak empties a tank. The way 1,000 tiny cuts bleed you dry. It's not always about the task, it's about the cost. People will say, but you only stayed 15 minutes late. But answering one message isn't that big a deal. But you didn't have to help, you offered. What they don't see is the cumulative weight, the years of being the emotional shock absorber, the weight of being the strong one, the fatigue of constantly being the one who just handles it. Because the tax isn't just paid in time, it's paid in self-abandonment, in how often you silence your needs, in how rarely you feel held, in how much space you don't take up, in how you keep earning your right to exist through what you give. And it's never refunded. There's no credit for the moments you held everything together, no refund for the days you swallowed your pain to support someone else, no back pay for all the emotional labor you provided. You don't get a bonus for the nights you cried in silence, then showed up with a smile. You don't get interest on the dreams you put on hold so someone else could shine. You just keep paying. Because that's what kind people do, right? They give and give and give until there's nothing left. And when they collapse, the world calls it burnout, as if it were an accident, as if it weren't the inevitable result of a system that depends on your constant self-sacrifice. Who collects the tax? Let's be clear, this tax doesn't disappear into the air. Someone benefits from it. Your boss meets deadlines because you pick up the slack. Your friends avoid discomfort because you absorb the tension. Your family maintains harmony because you suppress your truth. Your organization avoids turnover because you stay silent and compliant. You are the cushion, the buffer, the emotional shock absorber, and no one thanks the cushion. They just sit on it. Why you keep paying? Because you were taught that being uncomfortable is noble, that being selfless is the highest form of love, that sacrificing yourself is what makes you worthy. You were taught to see exhaustion as a badge, to mistake depletion for dedication, to confuse silence with maturity. You were told, if you really cared, you'd give more. If it hurts, it must be working. If you're tired, you're doing something right. That's not care. That's conditioning. You don't owe the world your exhaustion, but you've been trained to think you do. What it's costing you. The unseen tax of compassion robs you of time you'll never get back, energy you needed for yourself, mental space for your own dreams, emotional availability for your real relationships, confidence to say enough, clarity about what you want, peace, the kind that comes from not carrying the weight of everyone else's life. And worst of all, it robs you of your own identity. Because when your life becomes about supporting everyone else, you forget who you are outside of being helpful. You forget how to receive, how to rest, how to need. You become so used to being strong that weakness feels like failure, even when it's just being human. You can't keep paying this forever. Eventually, the tax bankrupts you. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. You start snapping at the people you love. You feel resentful but guilty about it. You fantasize about disappearing. You secretly wish someone else would fall apart first so you could finally rest. But you won't rest because you've been wired to keep giving. Even when your body is screaming, even when your spirit is cracking, even when everything in you says, this isn't sustainable, you still show up because you're afraid of what it means to stop. Choosing to opt out. But here's the truth. You can stop paying. You can say, my empathy is sacred, not for sale. My time matters, even when no one else says it does. My worth isn't based on how much I sacrifice. I am no longer available for silent suffering. You don't need permission. You need permission from yourself. To set boundaries, to say no, to stop explaining, to step back, to ask for help, to be a person, not a machine. This doesn't make you selfish. It makes you sovereign. Let this be the last time. Let this be the last time you equate love with self-neglect, the last time you confuse guilt with guidance, the last time you betray your needs to earn someone else's approval. You were not put on this earth to be everyone's emotional vault, crisis counselor, or unpaid laborer. You were meant to live, to feel, to be freely, without owing anyone your depletion. The tax stops now because you finally realized it was never your debt to begin with. The cultural conditioning that traps you. You weren't born believing you had to earn your worth. You weren't born thinking that rest was selfish. You weren't born afraid to say no. That was all taught, conditioned, reinforced, passed down like a family heirloom, wrapped in politeness, morality, tradition, religion, and fear. And the worst part? You never even realized it was happening because it didn't feel like brainwashing. It felt like love, like respect, like being a good person. But beneath that gentle surface was a silent training, a lifelong lesson. You must give, serve, and sacrifice quietly. How culture shapes you without asking. Culture isn't just what you celebrate, it's what you tolerate. It's the rules no one says out loud, but everyone obeys. It's the way you were praised for putting others first, the way your family admired people who never complained, the way you were shamed for speaking up, the way your religion linked holiness with suffering, the way gender roles were disguised as destiny. You're the big sister, take care of them. Boys don't cry. Be polite. Don't talk back. Family comes first. Don't make a scene. Stop being selfish. Real love is sacrifice. And over time, those messages became your map, your compass, your internal voice. So now, even when no one is pressuring you, you pressure yourself. The invisible cage. This is what cultural conditioning does. It turns control into conscience. You no longer need someone to guilt you because you guilt yourself. You no longer need someone to silence you because you silence yourself. And you don't even see the cage because it's made from values you were told were beautiful. Kindness, loyalty, respect, humility, sacrifice. But when those values are distorted, they don't free you, they trap you. They make you believe that your pain is noble, that your silence is strength, that your exhaustion is a sign of love. Gendered expectations, the oldest trap. If you were raised as a girl, you were likely taught to be soft, sweet, obedient, to take care of everyone, to be polite even when mistreated, to give even when you're empty, to smile, even when you're breaking. You were told that good women endure. They don't complain. They don't need much. They hold the family together. They serve. They bend. They give everything. And if you were raised as a boy, you were likely told to be strong, stoic, independent, to never show weakness, to provide without asking for anything, to fix everything, feel nothing, and carry it all alone. So either way, you were set up to suffer quietly, just in different costumes. That's not tradition, that's trauma passed off as legacy. When culture becomes control, culture can be beautiful, but it can also become a weapon, especially when it demands obedience over authenticity. It tells you who you're allowed to be, how much you're allowed to ask for, what kind of love you're worthy of. It defines success, shames deviation, drowns your inner voice in a sea of expectations. And all of it feels normal because it's everywhere. In the stories, the customs, the family dinners, the way your elders look at you when you say something too bold. So you comply, not because you believe it, but because breaking the rules feels like betrayal, not of the system, but of the people you love. That's how deeply culture traps you, by tying obedience to belonging, by making silence the cost of acceptance. You were not meant to stay small. The truth is, you don't owe anyone your smallness, not your culture, not your community, not even your family. You are allowed to question what you were taught. You are allowed to rewrite the script. You are allowed to say, "That rule doesn't work for me. I was raised this way, but I'm choosing something different." You are not selfish for breaking patterns. You are not lost for leaving roles behind. You are not disrespectful for protecting your peace. In fact, that might be the most respectful thing you ever do, because healing yourself breaks the generational curse, because reclaiming your voice gives others permission to do the same. Signs you're still trapped by conditioning. You feel guilty for resting. You over-explain your boundaries. You say yes because it's the right thing to do, even when it's not right for you. You mistake discomfort for morality. You call exhaustion duty. You confuse self-abandonment with love. If this sounds familiar, you're not weak. You're not broken. You're just still living by rules you never agreed to. And you're finally waking up. The courage to unlearn. Unlearning cultural conditioning isn't loud. It's not about dramatic rebellion. It's quiet. It's personal. It's slow. It's sacred. It's saying, I love my culture, but I don't accept every part of it. I respect my elders, but I will not repeat their pain. I care deeply, but I won't abandon myself in the name of tradition. That's not betrayal. That's evolution. Let this be the line in the sand. You were not born to carry the emotional inheritance of your culture without ever asking whether it serves you. You are allowed to choose. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to outgrow the stories that made you. Because some of those stories were written to keep you silent, to keep you useful, to keep you in your place. But your place is not at the bottom of the ladder. Your place is not in permanent self-sacrifice. Your place is not at the end of everyone else's expectations. Your place is here, fully alive, fully present, fully yours. No longer trapped, no longer conditioned, no longer performing the version of you that culture demanded. The real you, The free you starts now.
Weaponized empathy in the workplace. You walk into the office with good intentions. You want to do meaningful work. You want to support your team. You want to care. But what you don't realize is that your empathy is already being used against you. Not by a villain, not by an individual, but by a system that has learned a quiet truth. Compassionate workers are easier to control. Not through fear, not through punishment, but through culture, through guilt, through invisible expectations wrapped in feel-good language like team spirit, passion, and commitment. The new face of exploitation. Once, control in the workplace was obvious. Strict rules, top-down orders, punch clocks, no questions asked. But that model is fading, not because the system evolved morally, but because it evolved strategically. Today's exploitation comes with perks, free snacks, casual Fridays, open floor plans, emotional check-ins. Companies now want your whole self, your heart, your loyalty, your personality, your beliefs, your emotional labor, not just your labor hours. Because a worker who's emotionally invested is far easier to manage than one who's just doing their job. How empathy gets weaponized. You're praised for being the go-to person. You're celebrated for always staying late. You're admired for handling conflict calmly. You're the one everyone comes to, but no one protects. You're told, "You're such a team player. You're the glue that holds us together. You care so much. We couldn't do this without you." It feels like appreciation, but it's actually a strategy. Because once your identity is wrapped in being helpful, you'll say yes even when you're drowning. You'll sacrifice your weekends because you don't want to let anyone down. You'll ignore your burnout because the team needs you. That's not empowerment. That's manipulation dressed up as culture. The myth of "we're like a family here." One of the most dangerous phrases in modern workplaces is, "we're like a family here." It sounds warm, safe, supportive, but families, in theory, offer unconditional love. Workplaces do not. They will let you go during budget cuts. They will replace you without notice. They will applaud your sacrifices, then penalize you when you finally draw a boundary. The family narrative is often used to blur the line between professional and personal, to make you feel emotionally obligated to give more than you're paid for. It's not about belonging, it's about emotional compliance. The guilt-driven work culture. Modern workplaces rarely force you to overwork. They simply make you feel bad if you don't. You're not staying late? The team really needed your input on this. We thought you were more invested. Wow, you're taking time off during launch week? The shame is subtle, but it works. Because when you care, you want to help. You want to show up. You want to do good work. And the system knows it. So it doesn't have to demand. It just has to imply. And your empathy does the rest. The cost of being the one who cares. If you're the one who cares most, you end up doing the most, without extra pay, without extra credit, without extra protection. You take on other stress. You mediate office tensions. You stay late without being asked. You answer emails on vacation. You become the emotional backbone, and it quietly becomes expected. But here's the truth. If caring is your superpower, the system will treat it like free fuel until you burn out. And even then, you'll be praised for how long you lasted, not mourned for how you were used. When you say no, the moment you stop,
The moment you say, "I can't take this on," or "I need to disconnect," or "I won't be available this weekend," you'll notice the shift. You'll feel the chill, the disappointment, the withdrawal of warmth. Not because you did something wrong, but because you stepped out of the role they quietly built around your empathy. And roles, once established, are hard to break, especially when they benefit the system more than they benefit you. The truth about passion. You were told to find a job you're passionate about, to do what you love, to give it your all. But in today's work culture, passion is often used as an excuse not to pay you fairly. You're here for the mission, right? Isn't making a difference enough? We can't offer much, but you'll be part of something bigger. Passion is beautiful, but when it's used to justify exploitation, it becomes a weapon. You should never have to choose between caring deeply and being treated fairly. How to protect your empathy without losing it. This isn't about becoming cold. It's not about checking out emotionally. It's not about doing the bare minimum. It's about creating boundaries that keep your care from being consumed. You can say, "I care about this work, but I won't abandon myself for it. I'll give my best during my work hours. I'm not emotionally available to hold this burden alone. I value my energy too much to let it be exploited." This isn't selfish, it's sustainable, because empathy without boundaries turns into burnout. And a burned out person helps no one, including themselves. Redefining what it means to be a good worker. Being a good worker doesn't mean being the most available, the most agreeable, the most self-sacrificing. It means being clear, aligned, present, without being depleted. It means showing up fully, but not endlessly. It means giving your heart, but not giving away your sanity. The new good worker isn't a martyr. It's a whole human with boundaries, needs, and a life outside of work. Let this be your wake-up call. Your empathy is precious. It's not a corporate resource. It's not a productivity tool. It's not an obligation. It's yours to offer, to withhold, to protect. You are not just an asset. You are not just a team player. You are not just the one who holds everything together. You are a person, and that person deserves to be well. Let your kindness lead, but never let it be used.
Why saying no feels wrong. You've heard it 1,000 times. You have to set boundaries. You're allowed to say no. You can't pour from an empty cup. And logically, you agree. But when the moment comes, when someone asks for your time, your energy, your support, your attention, your throat tightens, your heart races. Your mouth opens to say no, but somehow it doesn't come out. Because for some reason, saying no feels wrong. It feels mean. It feels cold. It feels selfish, even when every part of you is screaming for space. Why? Because you were taught that no is rejection. From an early age, you were trained to associate no with badness. Say no to a chore, you're disobedient. Say no to hugging a relative, you're disrespectful. Say no to a request, you're rude. Over time, you learned that saying no disappoints people, and disappointing people felt dangerous. So you became a yes person. Not because you lacked boundaries, but because you were never taught that boundaries could coexist with love. Because you think your worth is in being needed. If you grew up being praised for being helpful, kind, generous, you started to believe that your value came from how useful you are to others.
So when you say no, it feels like you're subtracting from your worth, like you're failing at who you've always been, like you're risking disconnection, not just from others, but from the identity that kept you safe. But here's the truth. Being needed is not the same as being loved. And constantly saying yes isn't proof of your goodness. It's often just a sign that your boundaries were never honored. Because you confuse guilt with morality. When you say no and guilt floods your body, you assume the guilt means you did something wrong. But guilt isn't always a moral compass. Sometimes it's just a scar from conditioning, a reflex, a leftover voice from someone who taught you love must be earned through sacrifice. Guilt says they'll be upset. Truth says you're allowed to choose yourself. Guilt says you're abandoning them. Truth says you're finally not abandoning yourself. The guilt is real, but the story it tells isn't. Because you were the emotional caretaker. If you were always the one to smooth things over, to absorb the tension, to be the emotional anchor, saying no now feels like betrayal. You were the fixer, the helper, the strong one. So the idea of not being available, even just once, shakes something deep inside you. But let this sink in. Being available 24/7 isn't love, it's burnout. You are allowed to set limits, even if people don't like it, even if they're disappointed, even if they make you feel guilty. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your peace is. Because you were rewarded for self-sacrifice. You were praised when you pushed through exhaustion, when you stayed late, when you said yes with a smile, even though you were falling apart. You were admired for being strong, selfless, committed. But that praise was built on a lie, that your ability to suffer quietly was a sign of strength. The truth? Suffering should never be your baseline. Self-sacrifice is not a personality trait. It's often a survival strategy. And saying no is not giving up, it's growing up. Because you're afraid of the fallout. What will they think? Will they stop trusting me? Will they talk behind my back? Will they replace me? Will they leave? These are real fears, because in the past, saying no may have come with punishment, cold shoulders, guilt trips, passive-aggressive comments, or even abandonment. So now every no feels like you're risking it all. But here's the thing. If your connection depends on constant self-erasure, it was never a safe connection to begin with. Because you haven't seen healthy boundaries modeled. Most of us weren't shown what a healthy no looks like. We saw people explode after being pushed too far, or we saw people give in over and over until they disappeared. So now when you try to say no, you don't know how. You over-explain, you apologize, you shrink, or you stay silent and pay the price later. But boundaries don't have to be aggressive. They don't have to be dramatic. They can be simple, respectful, firm, and clear. And they're not a rejection, they're a declaration. This is where I end and where you begin. So what do? You start practicing. You start small. You tolerate the discomfort. You remind yourself, I can say no and still be a kind person. Their reaction doesn't define my decision. Every time I say no, I'm choosing truth over people-pleasing. The right people will respect my limits. You let the guilt come and pass. You let the fear rise and stay rooted. You let people misunderstand you and still speak your truth. You are not a bad person for saying no. You are not selfish. You are not cold. You are not uncaring. You are human. with limits, with needs, with the right to protect your peace, even when others don't understand. You were never meant to be everything for everyone. You are meant to be whole, and wholeness requires boundaries. Let this be the moment you reclaim no. No is not rejection. No is not cruelty. No is not failure. No is clarity. No is self-trust. No is love for yourself and for your right to exist without guilt. So the next time your body says no, listen, trust it, speak it, even if your voice shakes, even if they don't like it, even if it costs you approval. Because every time you say no to what harms you, you're saying yes to the life you actually want. And that yes is worth everything. Burnout is not a badge of honor. You wake up tired, but you keep going. You skip meals, cancel plans, power through headaches, smile through stress. Because somewhere along the way, you were taught that burnout means you're doing something right, that being overwhelmed is a sign of dedication, that being exhausted means you're strong, that sacrificing your well-being is what makes you valuable. And the worst part? The world praises you for it. You've been trained to see exhaustion as achievement. You've heard it all your life. She never stops working. She's amazing. He's always the first one in, last one out. She hasn't taken a vacation in years, so committed. He works weekends. What a team player. We celebrate people who are burning out as long as they're doing it quietly. We reward self-sacrifice, not balance. We admire the person who's holding it all together, even if they're falling apart inside. Because our culture has confused pain with purpose. How burnout becomes a status symbol. You don't just work hard, you prove it. You answer emails late at night. You brag about how little sleep you got. You wear your stress like a trophy. Because being busy makes you feel important. Because rest feels lazy. Because slowing down feels like falling behind. But here's the truth. If your value depends on your exhaustion, you're not being valued. You're being drained. Burnout isn't noble. It's a system failure. Burnout isn't a personal flaw. It's not a sign that you're not strong enough. It's not something to overcome with more caffeine, more hustle, more willpower. It's a warning sign, a red light, a breaking point. It means the system is asking more than is humanly sustainable, and you've been conditioned to accept it without question. It means your body is protesting what your mind has normalized. What burnout really looks like. It's not always dramatic. It doesn't always mean collapse. Sometimes it looks like you're always tired, even after sleep. You feel numb, even when life is fine. You cry more easily, or can't cry at all. You stop caring about things you used to love. You dread even simple tasks. You feel disconnected, like you're living on autopilot. You fantasize about disappearing just to get a break. But you keep showing up because you're responsible, because people are counting on you, because you're not the type to quit. So you keep going until you can't. Why burnout is romanticized? Because it serves the system. A burned-out person doesn't question things. They don't set boundaries. They don't speak up. They don't organize. They don't revolt. They just survive, barely. And they blame themselves for not doing more. And the system keeps running on your broken spirit. The silent cost of being the strong one. You're the reliable one, the rock, the person everyone counts on, but no one asks what you need because you never fall apart, at least not in front of them. You become so identified with holding it together that asking for help feels like failure. So you suffer in silence, and people admire your strength while you feel like you're dying inside. That's not strength. That's emotional abandonment of yourself. Let's be honest, burnout steals everything. It steals your joy, your clarity, your health, your creativity, your connection to others, your ability to feel. It makes you irritable, reactive, forgetful, disconnected. It pushes you into survival mode, where your only goal is to make it to the end of the day, and somehow you still feel guilty for not doing enough. You were never meant to live this way. You weren't born to be a machine. You weren't designed to run until you break. You were meant to live, not just function, to breathe, to laugh, to rest without apology, to create without pressure, to give from overflow, not emptiness. But the system doesn't benefit from your peace. It thrives on your productivity, your obedience, your burnout disguised as devotion. Rest is not laziness, it's rebellion. In a world that profits from your exhaustion, rest is a radical act. It's saying, my body is not a resource to be mined. My life is not a machine for someone else's gain. My value is not defined by how much I produce. Rest is reclaiming your humanity. It's remembering that you are not here to meet impossible expectations in exchange for temporary praise. So what now? You start noticing. You start asking, why am I doing this? Who benefits from my exhaustion? What story do I believe about my worth? What am I afraid will happen if I rest? And then you start choosing differently. You don't have to quit your job or burn your life down. You start with small boundaries, tiny pauses, honest check-ins. You start speaking the truth. I'm not okay. I need rest. I'm not available for this. You stop proving yourself and you start protecting yourself. Let this be your turning point. You don't need to crash to deserve a break. You don't need to hit rock bottom to ask for help. You don't need to suffer to be enough. Burnout is not your destiny. It's not your badge. It's not your identity. It's a signal. And you are finally listening because you are done mistaking pain for purpose. You are done calling exhaustion success. You are done making yourself sick to prove you're worthy of being seen. You are ready for a new way, a softer way, a way where your well-being is not the price of your existence.
Redefining compassion with boundaries. You were taught that compassion means saying yes, that love means availability, that kindness means self-sacrifice. So every time you pull back, you wonder, am I being cold? Am I letting them down? Am I still a good person? Because somewhere deep inside, you've internalized a dangerous belief that real compassion has no limits. But that's not compassion. That's codependency in disguise. That's martyrdom misbranded as virtue. That's guilt parading as generosity. True compassion has boundaries. What compassion isn't? Compassion isn't saying yes to everything. It's not being available at all hours. It's not staying silent to keep the peace.
It's not abandoning yourself to show up for others. Compassion is not about letting people drain you so they can stay comfortable. It's not about betraying your needs to meet theirs. And it's definitely not about shrinking your truth so others don't feel discomfort. That's not love. That's fear wearing a smile. What compassion actually is? Compassion is presence, honesty, care that honors both people, not just one. It's knowing your limits so you can show up fully within them. It's recognizing someone's pain without making it your responsibility to fix. It's listening without absorbing. It's supporting without rescuing. It's caring without collapsing. True compassion is sustainable. It doesn't burn you out. It doesn't silence you. It doesn't demand your erosion. Because real love never asks you to disappear. Boundaries are not barriers, they're bridges. You've been taught that boundaries push people away, that they create distance, that they're walls. But here's the truth. Boundaries are bridges. They allow connection without resentment. When you set a boundary, you're not saying, "I don't care." You're saying, "I care enough to be honest." You're saying, "I want this connection to be real, not forced. I want to give from a full cup, not an empty one. I want to love you without losing myself." That's not rejection. That's integrity. Why compassion without boundaries fails. Without boundaries, your compassion becomes resentment, exhaustion, overfunctioning, enabling, quiet rage, emotional depletion. You say yes, but inside you're screaming. You give, but you secretly keep score. You support, but you start to vanish. This is not sustainable, and over time, it turns your kindness into bitterness. Not because you're unkind, but because you were never meant to carry this much. Signs you need boundaried compassion. You feel drained after helping. You say yes immediately, then regret it. You feel guilty when you take space. You're the go-to person, but no one checks on you. You feel like you can't say no, even when you want to. These aren't flaws, they're signals. Your nervous system is telling you something is off. And what's off isn't your empathy, it's your boundaries. How to practice compassion with boundaries. Pause before you say yes. Ask, do I want to do this or do I feel obligated? Do I have the energy for this? What will this cost me emotionally? Let go of guilt. You are not responsible for other people's reactions. Their disappointment doesn't make you wrong. Their expectations don't equal your obligation. Learn to say no with kindness. I care deeply and I can't take this on right now. I'm here for you, but I need some space first. I'm not available for that, and I still care. Protect your energy. Not everyone deserves full access to you. Compassion doesn't require full exposure. You can care from a distance. You can love with limits. Honor reciprocity. Compassion is not a one-way street. If someone only takes, that's not a relationship. That's an extraction. Boundaries strengthen compassion. They don't diminish it. You can love someone and still say no. You can be kind and still take space. You can be deeply compassionate and still choose yourself. In fact, that's the highest form of compassion, the kind that includes you too. Let go of the old story. The old story said, be good, be available, Never complain. Give until it hurts. But you're rewriting it now. You're saying, I choose love, but not at the cost of self-erasure. I choose presence, but not if it burns me out. I choose compassion, but it includes me this time. This isn't selfish. This is sacred. Because a kind heart without boundaries isn't compassion, it's collapse. Let this be your redefinition. From this moment forward, let your compassion be fierce. Let it be clear. Let it be discerning. Love with strength. Give with wisdom. Serve with sustainability. And never again confuse your kindness with a requirement to disappear. You were never meant to save everyone. You were meant to be whole. And compassion, real compassion, starts there.
The power of choosing yourself first. It feels wrong at first, unnatural, selfish, unfamiliar. The idea of choosing yourself, of putting your needs first, of making decisions that serve your peace, not just someone else's comfort. But here's the truth no one told you. Choosing yourself is not betrayal. It's the beginning of becoming real. You were trained to come last. From a young age, you were praised for being easy, for being flexible, for being accommodating, for being the one who adjusted, adapted, gave in. You were taught to be a helper, not a center, a supporter, not a main character. So when the time comes to choose yourself, your body resists, your mind doubts, your heart trembles. Because self-prioritization was never part of the script you were handed. You only learned how to be good for others, not how to be good to yourself. Why choosing yourself feels so uncomfortable? Because you're disrupting the role of caretaker, fixer, listener, problem solver, peacekeeper, backup plan. You've worn that role so long that you began to think it was your identity. And when you start saying, "This time I'm choosing me," it threatens the entire dynamic. Some people won't like it. They'll say you changed. They'll say you've become distant. They'll call you selfish. But you haven't changed. You've simply stopped shrinking. What choosing yourself actually means. It doesn't mean abandoning people. It doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It doesn't mean ignoring responsibility. It means listening to your own voice before everyone else's, trusting your needs without needing permission, saying yes to what nourishes you and no to what drains you, knowing that your worth isn't dependent on how much you give away. It means you count too, and not just when everyone else is okay, not just when it's convenient, not just when there's time left over. Right now, right here, you matter, period. When you choose yourself, everything changes. You stop over-explaining. You stop apologizing for taking up space. You stop over-functioning in relationships where you're the only one trying. You start honoring your energy. You start hearing your inner voice and actually listening. You start building a life rooted in truth, not obligation. And the world doesn't fall apart. It adjusts. Because when you're aligned, your relationships become real. Your work becomes purposeful. Your presence becomes magnetic. You stop being the person everyone depends on out of habit, and you start being the person they respect because you respect yourself first. You can't pour from a broken cup. You've heard this before, but let's go deeper. When you constantly give without receiving, you become bitter. You smile, but it's hollow. You show up, but it's robotic. You love, but it's laced with resentment. Because love without self-love becomes performance. Compassion without boundaries becomes martyrdom. And service without rest becomes self-destruction.
You weren't built for that. You were built to thrive, not just survive in a state of quiet depletion. But won't people think I'm selfish? Some might, especially the ones who were benefiting from your self-neglect. But here's the truth. You're not responsible for how others interpret your healing. You're not responsible for managing their discomfort with your growth. Let them adjust. Let them question. Let them leave if they must. The people who truly love you won't fear your fullness. They won't need you to shrink. They won't demand your exhaustion as proof of loyalty. Signs you're finally choosing yourself: you pause before you say yes. You rest without guilt. You say no with grace and no apology. You make decisions that align with peace, not pressure. You stop chasing approval. You listen to your body. You stop rescuing people who won't help themselves. You feel uncomfortable, but free. This is growth. Not everyone will understand it, but you will feel it in your bones, in your breath, in your clarity. Choosing yourself is not the end, it's the beginning. The beginning of honest relationships, the beginning of sustainable giving, the beginning of self-trust, the beginning of being seen as you are, not as what people expect you to be. You stop chasing validation. You stop managing perceptions. You stop begging for rest. You just return to yourself. And from that place, you give better. You love cleaner. You lead more powerfully. You live more truthfully. Let this be the moment you say yes to you. You've done enough proving. You've done enough pleasing. You've done enough carrying what was never yours. This chapter is different. This chapter is yours. It begins with a simple, powerful sentence. I choose myself, fully, unapologetically, and without guilt. Let that sentence change your life, because when you choose you, everything falls into alignment, not perfectly, but honestly. And that's where real freedom begins.
A new kind of revolution. Boundaried empathy. They told you compassion would change the world. And they were right. But they forgot to warn you what happens when that compassion is used against you. They forgot to mention the way empathy gets twisted, how systems start to expect it, not as a gift, but as a given, how kindness becomes a trap, how emotional labor becomes the unpaid toll, how silence gets labeled professionalism, and exhaustion gets mistaken for virtue. But now you see it, clearly, finally. And this is your revolution, a new kind of compassion, a boundaried empathy, one that gives but never erases itself, one that serves but never submits, one that loves but never self-destructs. This revolution begins quietly. No marching, no shouting, no slogans. Just one person, waking up to the cost of their own depletion. Just one woman saying, I'm no longer available for this version of love. Just one man saying, I will not confuse self-worth with productivity anymore. Just one teacher, one nurse, one social worker, one friend, one daughter, one son. Choosing rest, choosing honesty, choosing enough. Not out of defiance, but out of clarity. You are the system's worst nightmare, a kind person who's no longer easily controlled. Because when a kind person wakes up, everything changes. They stop apologizing for their boundaries. They stop explaining their worth. They stop performing emotional labor for free. They stop saying yes to survive. And that's terrifying.
to a world that depends on your compliance, to systems that profit from your guilt, to people who only liked the version of you that never said no. But that's okay. You weren't born to be manageable. You were born to be whole. Boundaried empathy looks like this. You still care, deeply, but you no longer betray yourself to prove it. You still give, generously, but only from overflow, not depletion. You still show up with heart, but you leave when it costs your peace. You still listen, fully, but you no longer carry what isn't yours. You become a force, not because you give endlessly, but because you've learned where you end and where someone else begins. That's not distance. That's maturity. That's compassion with backbone. This revolution isn't loud, but it's unstoppable. You won't see it trending. It won't make headlines, but it's happening. Every time someone says, "I don't owe you my exhaustion. I'm not available for emotional manipulation. I matter too," the revolution grows. It's in the teachers leaving toxic schools, in the nurses drawing lines in the sand, in the activists stepping back to preserve their sanity, in the parents healing their trauma before passing it down, in the workers no longer dying for companies that would replace them in a day, in the children learning, finally, that love doesn't require self-erasure. This is not quitting. This is remembering. Remembering that your compassion was never meant to be currency. The future is built on boundaried hearts. We don't need more martyrs. We don't need more strong ones breaking silently. We don't need more people giving until they disappear. We need hearts that are both soft and protected. People who know how to give without being drained. People who rest without guilt. People who help without enabling. People who love without losing themselves. This is emotional evolution. This is spiritual sovereignty. This is the return of your power. You don't need permission to start. You don't need to announce it. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to wait for approval. You just begin, quietly, bravely. Now, you say, "I will not shrink anymore. I will not bleed for validation. I will not carry the weight of the world if it crushes me in the process." And in that choice, you become free. Not just for yourself, but for everyone watching you who didn't know they were allowed to do the same. Let this be the legacy you leave. You won't be remembered for how much you gave until you broke. You'll be remembered for how boldly you chose wholeness, for how you changed the script, for how you let compassion evolve into something that includes you this time. You will be the proof that you can love without losing yourself, that you can serve without being swallowed, that you can give without becoming the sacrifice. Let that be your revolution, not louder, but truer, not harder, but healthier, not softer, but wiser. Because the world doesn't need your burnout. It needs your clarity, your wholeness, your boundaried, awakened, unstoppable heart. That's the compassion that changes the world.